we believe that the White House, that President Trump himself was sold on, and by the way, I'm so used to saying the White House when I mean the president because it's an apparatus, not just an individual. And we know now that it's largely wrong in the case of President Trump. He's the one that makes these decisions and wants everyone to fall in line, right?
Right.
Go find a reason for me to make this decision I'm going to make anyway.
Absolutely.
So he was sold on the idea of Kevin Warsh. He was sold on the idea that it should be someone who will demonstrate independence because markets would like that. We know that President Trump is a little bit sensitive to what the stock market does and what interest rate markets do, which is fascinating because he puts up with so much political pushback, right? He will do things that he wants to do, notwithstanding the pushback he gets, especially from the left, but sometimes from his own party. The Epstein files are an example. I mean, say what you will about the president. We criticize him all the time. He has enormous political guts, right?
Oh, sure.
Sometimes his instincts suck, but
he's not afraid to do what he wants to do. That's for sure.
He's not afraid to do what he wants to do. And so often it makes our heads explode, but you got to hand it to him. One of the few things that he listens to is the stock market and which way interest rates are going. And I think that he was sold on the idea that markets would not like Kevin Hassett and that they would like Kevin Warsh. And they were correct about this. And Trump did the right thing. And one of the things that I find really interesting is that Warsh has gone so far as to say, maybe we need to rethink some of the ways that the Fed does business. And I really don't know whether the conversation in the White House was, let's, rally around Kevin, notwithstanding that he has a libertarian streak and wants to change the way things are done, because he has a libertarian streak and wants to change the way that things are done, or because these arguments are just too sophisticated and the White House doesn't understand, which could well be the case.
Right. And I know sometimes, at least I won't speak for you, for myself, it becomes almost the de facto launching position to say President Trump doesn't understand what's going on. Because he has like even in his best days, when he tries to explain some of this stuff, when he wanders off the script, it's calamitous for him. For anybody who understands what he's talking about, it's calamitous when he tries to explain tariffs, when he tries to explain anything, right?
Right. He tries multiple and competing arguments and it gets all jumbled up.
Right. And you and I have said a lot of times someone should just take his phone away. He shouldn't be allowed to go on Truth Social. He shouldn't, this and that. Do you think that it's possible that when Warsh says he wants to shake things up, it's not necessarily in the way you and I would hope he would shake things up? Like, is it possible that his quote shaking up could be, I think the Fed should be more responsive to the president?
No, I think it's less. I think Warsh is on the right side of these arguments. He has talked about shrinking the Fed balance sheet, which I would love to see. One of the reasons the Fed has so much influence over financial institutions is because it is simultaneously their regulator, their interest rate setter, and their lender of last resort, meaning, if you get pushed up against a wall, never mind a full bailout. Let's set that aside just for a minute.
Right.
But let's say you're just shy of needing a bailout, which you really need is a loan. Some people will call that a bailout, but you need a loan that no one else will give you. The Fed is there for you.
Hey, you run up to the Fed window, right? It's just
absolutely. And one of the reasons the Fed is able to do these midnight deals, either by restructuring financial institutions, by acquiring their debt, making loans, forcing restructuring, forcing one institution to take over another. One of the reasons the Fed is able to do this is because their balance sheet is ginormous, trillions and trillions. It's been as much as $8 or $9 trillion, and it's been coming down lately, but it's still ginormous. And Warsh has been explicitly critical of that. And one of the reasons he's been critical of that is because he believes it screws up monetary policy, but another, and makes it too loose and hard to control. Good for him, talking like an economist. But the other reason is because he doesn't like Fed intervention in cutting these deals and has too much latitude. Now you're talking libertarian stuff, right?
Right.
So even if, as a lot of folks say, Kevin will not be able to easily shrink the Fed's balance sheet, it's harder than he thinks, which is true. It is. It's very hard to unwind a lot of these contracts. But the fact that that's where his center of gravity is, that this is the sort of thing that he wants,
Right.
means that he will be the guy who says, no, we're not going to bail out institutions just because they've been idiots and we're large and we can do this easily. That's not a good enough reason. And this is arguably when you'd rather have an attorney than an economist. I can't believe I said that. When you want someone as Fed chair who says to a very large financial institution, when it comes to you and says we need a bailout, we need an attorney to say, gee, that sucks for you.
Right.
But that's not my problem. You know, you're going to have to tell your bondholders that they're going to have to take 63 cents on the dollar, and you're going to have to tell your equity holders that they're going to take 0 cents on the dollar. You're going to have to fire your board of directors. You, Mr. or Madam CEO, are going to have to resign. And then we will step in and help your organization find a buyer who's going to treat you very badly, but will at least protect the American public. That's what you need in that position. And I doubt President Trump has all that in mind.
And it's interesting because what you just described reminds me of a lot of what happened during the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. Who was it?
During which Warsh was on the governor, was a governor on the board.
There you go. Because it was during that time, and I'll mention another name, Jamie Dimon, widely regarded as the best CEO in America. Maybe not by President Trump, since they've been clashing since their days growing up in Queens, I think. They were neighbors. People